Hi, folks. This is Peter Lemieux from Rounding Third. I have a story to tell you today that was triggered by the baseball playoffs. When a favored team loses the baseball playoff, the first thing fans do is they want to blame their stars. I'm thinking immediately of the Dodgers getting upset by the Diamondbacks, and everybody was mad that Freddy Freeman and Mookie Betts did not hit in that series. And the argument was we paid them all this money and they didn't hit. Well, the reality of baseball is a very humiliating game. Good players go through bad times. Good pitchers go through bad times. It's just when they do it on the playoffs that it gets so amplified. It doesn't mean they're bad players. And I was thinking through history, and I actually remembered a story that the great Babe Ruth, one of the greatest players ever, certainly the greatest player of his time, ended the 1926 World Series by being thrown out stealing a base. Babe Ruth. You guys all know what Babe Ruth looked like, right? What's he doing stealing a base? I looked it up. St. Louis Cardinals, New York Yankees, Game 7, behind 3-2 in the ninth inning. Ruth's on first, and he decides to steal second, gets thrown out, game over, Cardinals win the World Series. What was he doing? This later got into, for those of us who care about this game, got made into a movie, but not at all about Babe Ruth. Grover Cleveland Alexander had pitched a complete game in Game 6, and they brought him in to save Game 7, which he did. And it got made into a black and white movie starring Ronald Reagan and Doris Day. And I can't remember the name of it, but the movie was famous. Grover Cleveland Alexander became famous. And everyone forgot that the game actually ended with the great Sultan of Swing getting thrown out stealing a base. So I said, I'll bet you there are a whole bunch of good players, who haven't performed well in the playoffs. So I composed a list, a pretty ominous list of great players who bombed in the playoffs. Let's start with the great Barry Bonds. Barry Bonds made the National League Championship Series 4 times and batted .203. Now, he did make up for it in 2002 when he made the World Series, batted .471 and hit 4 homers, but they lost to the Angels. But prior to that, .203. There was a great hitter, Robinson Canó, postseason, 133 batting average in .206, 136 batting average in the 2009 World Series, and in the most recent postseason that he had done, .073, 3/440. He was a great player, but the playoffs didn't do him well. How about the Mets' great pitcher, Doc Gooden? Doc Gooden was phenomenal. Pitched a no-hitter later in his life with the Yankees. A lot of wins, a lot of strikeouts. Playoffs, not so hot. 12 appearances, 59 innings. He won 0 games, lost 4, and his earned run average was .822. Doc Gooden did not do well in the playoffs. Of course, many of you are already thinking of this one, Clayton Kershaw. Clayton Kershaw has had some good postseasons, but overall, his record is only 9-10. He's allowed 5 or more runs 8 times in the playoffs, and most recently this year against the Diamondbacks when he gave up 6 runs and only got 1 man out. Horrible statistics for Clayton Kershaw. I'm still going, folks. Everybody loves Willie Mays. Many people say the greatest player ever to play the game. 5 trips to the postseason during his career. He hit only 1 home run in 99 at-bats and just 6 extra base hits. In 1951, as a youngster in the World Series, he hit into 3 double plays. in one game, in a 182 batting average, in a losing effort against the Yankees. Keep moving on down the line. Those of you can remember the big red machine and all those powerful hitters. Probably one of my favorite offensive weapons on that team was Joe Morgan, a great second baseman, ran like the wind, stole bases, hit for power, hit for average. Loved Joe Morgan. And then I found out in the playoffs, consecutive World Series wins in 75 and 76. However, he hit 182 in postseason games, 125 in 1972, and underneath 206 of his 11 career playoff series. He went missing in the playoffs also. I'm far from done, folks. Some of your favorite people may show up. How about the tremendous Hall of Famer, great American, changed baseball, Jackie Robinson? Dodgers reached the World Series in 6 of his 10 years in the club. Now, that's because of him. He was such a great player. However, he hit under 200 in 3 of his 6 World Series appearances, and he only managed 6 stolen bases in all his games. So he certainly played subpar in the playoffs. Now, for you broken-hearted Philly fans, I know if you've got any age on you at all, you will remember the love of Philadelphia, Hall of Famer Mike Schmidt. Hit over 500 home runs, I think. He was wonderful. 8 times he won the home run championship, 2 times MVP. And he was the major hitter in a pair of World Series teams. Now, in 1981, to his credit, he hit 381, won the World Series MVP. But after that, his postseason resume is very, very poor. Highlighted or lowlighted by a 1-for-20 showing in the 1983 World Series. And he opened that series going 0-for-13 and was blamed for the Phillies' loss at that time. Let's move across the country a little bit more. All you Boston Red Sox fans, sadly, this fella just passed away, but here's a great pitcher for the Red Sox, Tim Wakefield. He gave up 54 earned runs in 72 innings in his playoff experiences with the Red Sox with a 6.75 ERA. And Red Sox, as much as any team in baseball, have had their hearts ripped out by losing close games. If you don't remember this, it's fine. If you do, it's going to be painful to remember. Tim Wakefield is the one that gave up a home run to Aaron Boone to lose a series against the Yankees. The Yankees signed Dave Winfield to make it to the playoff. Dave Winfield played so poor in his first playoff experiences, George Steinbrenner named him Mr. May for being great during the season and bad during the playoffs. He had only 208, 1-for-22 in the World Series in 1981. Now, like Bonds, he did come back. Later on in 1992, he was the MVP for the Toronto Blue Jays when they won their World Series. I'm going to close with the famous Alex Rodriguez. A-Rod. Man, this guy has got numbers. I mean, just amazing numbers his whole career. Signed for $250 million with the Yankees, but when he made the playoffs, if you think Winfield did bad, he had under 200 in 8 separate series with the Yankees, tallying 33 strikeouts and only had 5 RBIs. So if somebody was really horrible in the playoffs, you might want to remember Alex Rodriguez. So what's the point of the stories? The point of the stories is just because a person does bad in a particular series or playoffs does not mean they're a bad player. Most of these people I talked about, Hall of Fame caliber players. It's just they go through a stretch when they can't get it going during the playoffs when the televisions are on and everyone's watching. Fans will rip those people. It's human nature. Heroes become bums quickly. It's always happened. It always will happen. I just want to remind those people in Philadelphia or Los Angeles who are so mad at your teams and paying all this money to people who let you down, join the club. You're in with a lot of great Hall of Famers. And that's my story for Rounding Third today. Hope all of you have a great day.